Welcome to the Trashcats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're going to talk to ghosts and ghouls and be letting them stroke the canvas of our Audacity files. Let's talk about spiritualistic art.
Oh, shit. Yeah, we got a lot of bullshit to get through today. But first, now, I know people might not hear this because of the coming nuclear winter with World War III and all.
Yeah.
But I need to get this out for the record. Did you know that Vladimir Putin, the leader of Russia, fucks horses?
I did not know that.
It's true. I just thought we should establish that.
Is that your Putin joke that you built up?
That was my big Putin joke.
Yesterday, Steven said, I got a Putin joke, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for tomorrow. It's like, all right.
And that made me laugh for 12 hours. Till now, I've been laughing about that.
Well, now we know.
Man, it's not so much as a joke, it's just the truth.
He fucks horses.
Yeah. How's your week been, man?
It's very chill. Very chill this week. We've been very productive at work, so I've been not like overdoing it, I don't think, but I've been going pretty hard between that and trying to get shit done at home. And I had a very restful day on Sunday. I didn't leave the house at all.
Good shit.
So that was very cool. That's very necessary every now and then to just say, fuck it. It was even like nice and sunny outside, and I looked at it and was like, nah, fuck that. I don't need to go outside.
Yeah, I think I've been outside twice this week. Yeah.
Yeah. That's you work at home.
Yeah, but fuck everything that's outside.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing good out there.
I've had enough sun for one lifetime. I'm staying in the dark basements from now on.
When you spend so much money in, rent or, your mortgage or whatever, like, why the fuck would you leave the house? You spend so much money on that place.
Yeah, and all the energy coming from those light bulbs, that's exactly what we need. We don't need sunlight.
Yeah. And it's not even like, the fire anymore. It's the LEDs, and like that's science, and science is good for you.
Yeah. I get my energy from the internet.
Yeah. That's all the social interaction I'm ever going to need is on, the comment page, the comments under YouTube videos and Reddit.
Powered by Wi-Fi. So
yeah.
Sounds like
powered by Wi-Fi. In the future, we will all be powered by Wi-Fi.
Sounds like a chill week, yeah?
Yeah. How's your week been?
It's been fine. Couple cool things. I did get some of my tattoo in by India, and that went really well. Had a lot of fun with that, and very excited. I'm trying to think. I did get a really cool art thing, and this is one of these things that, they almost never come through, but it's still like so validating when you get another like prominent artist that likes your work. But I got a potential offer to be involved in doing some art for Burning Man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Speaking of spiritual stuff, but it's one of the like actual installations, not just like a random side thing. So it would be just a cool opportunity. No idea if it'll come through, but obviously was very flattering. So that was cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's dope.
Yeah. Aside from that, just same old shit, different day.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Ready to get spiritual.
You got some honorable mentions for us?
Yeah, we got a lot. So I'm going to try to kick through these. First one, we have some music by one of the forefathers of the trash. What is it called?
Trash wave?
Trash wave genre. The forefathers of trash wave. This musician's name is Fine Sir, and the track is called Something I've Been Thinking About Lately. We're going to play that at the end. It kind of reminds me of like lo-fi mixed with like the Nine Inch Nails Ghost album.
Yeah. The lo-fi thing I definitely get. I don't know much about the Ghost album.
Dude, it's probably the most spiritual album in my life. There's like Ghosts 1 through whatever, but 1 through 3 are so beautiful.
Okay.
And that he built a studio that had servers that were constantly downloading audio samples. And then you could go in a room and it would play random sounds from all these servers at any time. So there's constant random. So he had like a random noise machine, right?
Okay.
And then if you heard something like inspiring or cool, you could like clip it or find that original audio file. And that was kind of the idea, like it was kind of like the ghosts in the music, and that was like part of the inspiration for the album. But very beautiful album.
I thought you were going to say he built a whole studio with a bunch of ghosts in it.
Basically.
I was going to say that sounds like some spiritualist bullshit.
So we're going to play that at the end of the episode by Fine Sir, something I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah, very chill track.
Yeah, and then I did just want to mention a couple artists before our last one. So I feel like a lot of people, when they think of spiritualist artists, they think of, I feel like the most popular one that comes to mind is Alex Grey.
Yeah.
And he does some cool stuff, but it's pretty cheesy too a lot of the time.
Unfortunately, I got burnt out on his work. It's 'cause I think his work's really cool. I got burnt out on a lot of his work because I grew up with a lot of stoners.
Yep.
From, like all of my teen years. And they were riding his jock really hard in a way that was just like, I'm not impressed by this anymore. It's not.
Yeah, they're too stoned to find other art.
Yeah.
But
when Alex Grey posters become your personality.
Yes, that is. He's almost like before NFTs, there was Alex Grey fans.
Yeah. It's really deep, man. You wouldn't get it.
Right. But I tend to think of spiritualist art for myself as artists in the vein of Dzwai Bashinsky. Did I do it right?
Yeah.
Okay. I really like his work. The internet has dubbed him the Nightmare Artist. You can find him online very easily. He's another Polish artist that does some like horrific nightmare hellscapes, but with
I had seen a lot of his work before. Actually, I have a couple of his pieces that were like wallpapers that I'm sure I got from like, wallpapers.com or whatever, some shit like that. And just because they're kind of brutal images. One of them's like a skeleton blowing a trumpet and there's like too many hands on the trumpet.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. All these like bones and knuckles and shit. And it's like very cool aesthetic. I'd really dig it.
Yeah, his anatomy is competitive with Stanislaw. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Or Alan Williams, aka I Just Draw. I don't think of the spiritual world in art as like the acidy psychedelic color auras, but more as the dark smudgy hazes.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah, almost like
I get more of a response from that.
Yes, it feels more intense. It's like a dark statue you stumble upon at night, or a faded ink drawing hidden in a old Bible, or just some moldy bones at the bottom of a lake. That's what spiritual art is.
Some moldy bones at the bottom of a lake.
That's a true spiritual artist. All right. Last honorable mention. This is someone that's new to me. This artist's name is Danica Lundy. Danica Lundy. And this person's art is on Instagram at Danica Lundy. It's DANICALLUNDY. And these paintings, some of them are massive too, but they're like out of body experiences. It feels like remote sensing, like alien experience from a random moment of childhood. And it's like so warped. And at first I really didn't like them, and then they've grown on me a lot because I haven't seen something that captures that first person perspective so well. What do you think of these?
I think her work's really amazing. It's never, I mean, I've seen a lot of other artists that were like, wow, that's very, you see a lot of like kind of Dali. Dali was one of the, we mentioned on another artist, was really influential artist for, with my relationship with art. So I see a lot of kind of quasi influence with hers, but it's so much more like gritty and it's not like a realism effect to it. It's like it just feels more, I don't know, it feels more dreamy, but also somehow very real.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love, like, the dentist, the one with the mouth is one of my favorites because the perspective is from inside the viewer's mouth, but you can still see things that don't match that perspective. Like you're almost a ghost inside. I don't know. It reminds me of like Hey Arnold, but on acid.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I can see that.
Spiritual
that
Hey
sense.
Arnold.
Spiritual Hey Arnold.
I really like this artist, Danica Lundy, and we'll post links and names and all the stuff on the Instagram for sure.
I also like that on her Instagram she has she posted the robot arm with the pool of blood.
Oh hell yeah!
She shared that, and then she also shared a picture of a trash can.
She's a fan.
She's on board. She knows what's up. Yeah, she's a fan.
Well, thank you for repping us, Danica Lundy.
We're fans of each other's work. I'm glad to know that.
It's really cool.
I hope this isn't the first artist that comes back and is actually like, please don't tell people I'm a fan of your work.
Yeah,
it's like,
please stop mentioning me in your podcast.
Yeah, don't talk about me anymore.
So far, it hasn't happened, but it's coming.
I would hate it for an artist that I actually do really like a lot to actually come back and say,
"Oh, I know." Well,
yeah, that would be awful.
Be the worst. So
now let's get spiritual.
You were supposed to sing that part, like let's get spiritual.
Let's get spiritual. I wanna get. God damn it!
When we were contemplating this was one like we could take a million different ways, and it was kind of difficult focusing on like, do we talk about artists who specifically consider themselves spiritualistic? Do we talk about esoteric or occult art? And we kind of just dove into the stuff we thought was fun. So it's a little bit, we're bouncing all over the spiritual pinball machine that is life. But
I asked Steven about the outline just this afternoon, and he said something about like, it's schizo, but I think it's all right.
And that pretty much sums up our process for writing.
Our planning process. Yeah. So spiritualistic art or spiritualist art or spirit art, or sometimes referred to as mediumistic art or psychic painting, is a form of art, mainly painting, influenced by spiritualism.
While spiritualism can take many different shapes and forms, on one end of the spectrum, it is a quasi-religious movement or ideology that involves the belief that spirits of the dead exist and have both the ability and inclination to communicate with the living. Artists on this end of the occult or paranormal spectrum seriously tend to think of themselves and their work as guided or influenced by the spirit world. And they're definitely not mentally ill at all. Not even a little bit.
Not a little bit. Not at all.
On the other end of the spectrum are artists who find their work to be healing or transformative, or just a form of mindfulness, in which they discover or balance themselves through their art. Today, we are primarily going to be focusing on the more extreme end, because that's where a lot of the fun stuff is, but we're going to talk a little bit about both.
Yeah, so let's start by taking a quick look at two artists who considered themselves to be spiritualists. If we go back to 1800s London, we see the rise of interest into the spiritual and the occult. We touched on this a bit back in the episode on Houdini, as he waged war against the paranormal community. esoteric curiosity was very vogue in high society, and we saw the rise of many artists who feigned a link to the spiritual realm. Among them was Georgiana Houghton.
Yeah, this goofy bitch. Quick question. Is it Vogue or In Vogue? I feel like I have heard both. Is it In Vogue?
In Vogue is usually the one. I think if you say like something is Vogue, that's like short term for saying it's in vogue.
That's even higher classy.
That's even higher class.
That's
like,
some
it's like
fucking Vogue
I mean, it's
shit
like
right
French.
there.
French and Italian is like you add like letters at the end of the words you just don't say.
Yeah, you don't even need them because it's not a good language.
Yeah. Damn, shit on French and Italian. Fuck them.
Purely just.
You heard it here first, folks.
I really do like Italian. I've been watching. Quentin Tarantino did a documentary on the history of Italian spaghetti westerns, and it's really cool.
That is actually I haven't seen that, but I've done a little bit of not like research into it, but that is a pretty wild ride of a narrative.
Yeah, weird
that part of history.
World. I didn't know how big spaghetti westerns were in Italian film.
Do we want to take a break from the spiritualism for me to tell you a fun story that happened very recently?
Please, anything that gets us away from that goofy bitch Georgina.
So I was working the other day, and there's this dude that comes into the farmer's market. He doesn't work there, but he's there every single weekend. And you can hear him coming before you see him. You can hear him from across the fucking crowded room. He just yells when he talks, and he never has anything like of specific value to say. There's usually like weird, goofy facts or like hot boomer takes that he has, and he's the kind of person that like comes at you with like a shitty old man joke, and then like you like try to respond with the joke, and he's like, "Oh, I was just joking," but he like yells it to you. Anyways, super annoying dude.
Yeah.
But he spends money at our business, so whatever. Anyways, he always hangs out there and like for the entire time and like talks to all the vendors as they're like trying to clean up and get their shit and get the fuck out of there. And he was talking to me while I was like dumping our water tanks and filling them up. And I was trying to talk to this girl that works there too. And I was like trying to have a conversation with her, and he keeps popping over.
Not on his watch.
Yeah, apparently. And he's trying to tell me about these Western stories.
Nice.
And he's telling me about like these like Western heroes from these movies, and then was telling me like, oh, if Doc Holliday and this other person ever got in a shootout, Doc Holliday would have won, and that's why this guy never picked a fight with him, and all this shit. And I'm like, that's cool, man. How many like that's crazy, and like wow. How many times can I do that before this guy's gonna fucking go away? But it got to the point where it's like, Kevin, am I gonna have to beat the shit out of you right now? Do I look like a man who's ever given a single shit about Doc Holliday?
Dude, that's really funny.
So that's my story with Kevin.
Some socially tone deaf shit right there.
Yeah.
That document, it's called Django and Django, and then also watch Archive 81 for some cool spiritual stuff. That's kind of what jogged the idea. So
tell us about our girl Georgiana.
Oh, Georgiana now. All right.
Georgiana.
So she first produced abstract work, and then that became spiritual drawings. So she did this was during 1859, and she often did these private séances that inspired the work. She exhibited a collection of abstract watercolor drawings to the public at an exhibition at a New Britain gallery in Bond Street, London in 1871.
I would like to say, for that time, these pieces of art are buck wild.
Yeah.
I don't think in particular that they're very good, or that I would like to hang them on a wall, but for that time, she was making some wild shit.
She's the blanket ones, right?
No, this is the one she did. Go ahead and Google her shit real quick. It's like very like modernist abstract.
Okay, I was thinking of the blanket photos.
No, we're gonna get to him in a minute.
Okay.
No, her work is really wild and colorful in a way. Like I said, very modern abstract-y, very intricate. But her method of selling them was like, oh, it was, brought to me by a spirit, or I was informed to make this by a spirit. It's like, just own up to your artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there's also some whole like women in the world of art in the 1850s. There's probably some reasons why it made sense for her business-wise to be like, hey, there's like a catch to my art. There's a thing to it. And that's why, you should buy it and publicize it. But
yeah, just because it was popping at the time. Honestly, some of this, I mean, it's definitely not my thing, but she's definitely way the fuck ahead of her time by like 100 years for abstract art. I mean,
right. Better than Picasso, way better than Warhol.
Yeah, I will second that. Which doesn't mean that much because they both suck. But
right, yeah, that's not cool. That's not high praise.
She's cooler.
So she would also become associated with this fraudulent spirit photographer named Frederick Hudson.
Yeah,
she helped sell reproductions of his photographs. If you get some time, Google the name Frederick Hudson. His work is these old fucking photographs, and it's just it's like him in a chair, right? And then, superimposed or like, what'd you say, like double exposure kind of thing going on where like there's just like a blanket that's being held up or propped up by something. And it's like obviously just a blanket.
Some of them are a little like trickier, classier.
Yeah, a little bit, but when you look at them, especially next to the other ones, you can see that it's just a white blanket, a white sheet wrapped around some shit.
Yeah, it looks like a little kid was paid to like throw a blanket through a slow exposure portrait kind of deal.
Yeah, and you can see that it's like, I don't know. I guess back then, if it was like, if you had it on a photograph, then it had to be real, right?
Right. Or that the medium of photography allowed you to see things that the human eye couldn't see.
And, it just fed into the whole like, oh, ghost looks like a sheet draped over a person. Right.
So, I mean, what's so wild, I mean, because this is, 1850s, 1870s. So, like, there's still people that are still doing this dumb shit today. So,
yeah.
Like for their time though, they're like way ahead of the curve, and they're laying the groundwork for like spiritual photographers or even ghost hunters today.
I know there's a current trend of people that Photoshop or edit in the like ghosts into Polaroid pictures.
Okay.
Just for the fun of it. There are people that do it and like try to pass it off as a thing, but there are people that do it just for the fun of it as like a hobby, which I think is fine and good. But if you're trying to convince someone that it's real, then either you are a massive asshole or you are mentally ill.
Well, that's been one of the huge problems in the ufology communities. And like, it's like there's tons of online groups of people that just do it for fun to see how many like weird alien freaks they can like trick into obsessing over their, like these people that analyze the footage because they are so passionate about alien, they'll go through frame by frame looking for editing artifacts. So if you make a fake video and have like all your friends edit it together, like some dude in another country somewhere in the world is going to spend like 100 hours trying to prove if your video was real or not.
So on the UFO thing, my uncle recently sent me a picture of, it was just pixels. It was just colored pixels that he obviously like with his, he's got a flip phone. Unless somebody got him a new one, he zoomed in on something and probably like through a car window.
Oh no.
And it's just like pixels of light. And he was like, what is this? I saw it in the sky. And I was like, can you zoom out, please? And he sent me another picture, and I was like, it was still, it's just a light in the camera. It's like, I don't know. He's like, maybe a spy satellite. And I said, it's almost, if it's moving and it looks weird, it's probably definitely a satellite. There's like 4,500 satellites in the orbit right now. So there's no reason why it couldn't be. It's definitely not a spy satellite. If it was a spy satellite, you wouldn't see it.
Yeah, it's pretty bright looking.
Yeah, you would not be able to see that. That's the whole point of that.
I thought it was, the original Bigfoot video?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the guys can't, like the dude passed the suit down to his son after. Like it was such an obvious prank, and people have obsessed over that shit forever.
Yeah.
So fucking goofy. So what about portraying these spirits? I know we're going to talk about some different ways artists go about this.
So, in the heyday of spiritualism, it became very common for mediums to sketch portraits of the spirits that they claimed were present during the seances that they held. It's one of those, like, get you coming and going thing. Like, you came for the seance, but you ain't leaving until you hit the gift shop kind of things.
Yeah, it's almost like the cartoon portraits.
Like, you gave me this money so that you could have this seance experience. Now, you need a picture of it to take home to remember that you spent all this money on some hot bullshit.
Right. This is what I saw when I talked to your dead loved one.
Yeah.
And then they also did the auragraphs, which are supposed to represent a person's past, present, and potential as seen by a medium or clairvoyant. The name was coined and the technique developed by British medium and snake oil salesman Harold Sharp in the 20th century.
Yeah, his whole story's kind of wild too. His thing was like he first got into the spiritualism thing by meeting Arthur Conan Doyle, who is a known shithead.
Yeah.
And he like went to his Arthur Conan Doyle's like museum of shit. And then suddenly afterward, he started making these, spiritual illustrations that it was like a circle image that he would come up with in like about an hour, and then had someone else, he would give it to someone else who would translate to the person like, this is what this means for you, and this is how we can break this down. And basically, like his whole story spells out like he walked into this museum and saw like, oh, this makes money. And then the background of his biography is like, also he makes these drawings so quickly, and he never had an art lesson before, and he can't draw he's never been able to draw outside of these seances. And like, oh yeah, he can't draw. He can't, when he lifts up the pencil, like suddenly like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. No one can fake that.
Did you know he also didn't know how to write? He didn't know how to spell. He didn't know how to write. If you look at his books, there's misspellings everywhere.
There you go.
He wasn't very bright, is my point.
He definitely had to be controlled by the spirits then. There's no other way.
So today we see scammers selling all kinds of like modern versions of the same idea as the auragraphs. They're packaging different ideas, but the same principle with things such as the aura glasses, which is kind of the same idea as a mood ring, except there's this mystical liquid dye called diasin. I may be saying that, diasin.
That's right.
And the idea is that it's pressed between the lenses and allows you to see the spirit world and perceive people's aura. Conspiracists will claim this particular dye has been made illegal because the government doesn't want us to pierce the veil. And it's so funny because in reality, I believe it became illegal at one point because it's just a toxic dye made from coal tar. And it doesn't show colors or alter the, visual spectrum, nothing. It's all like people were pretending to see shit.
Imagine the military uses of like, you can see auras. Imagine like a special ops like night mission where you're going in and like, if you have those, fuck night vision. You can see people like through walls and shit. You see their aura? Come on.
That'd be so cool. I know we've talked about the military testing for night vision eye drops and stuff like that. It's I have a buddy. He's still on Instagram with the @Embrace the Spirits, but he does UV photography, and I kind of like the idea of like capturing those different light spectrums, because it's kind of goofy in a way, but it inherently feels like you're seeing like a spiritual like underlayer of what's normally there, but we can't perceive.
I like that. I think that's a cool concept for art in general. I think it's different when there's people like different homeboy at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
So every now and then
markets are a spiritual place.
They have some buck wild shit goes on in there. It's the center of society.
If you want to hear some crazy shit, go to your local farmer's market.
Yeah. So, this one's special because this one is, it's a farmer's market on Saturday where you get like produce and shit. On Sunday,
and it's
you go in there. Yeah, and it's in Royal Oak.
Okay, but
you're not supposed to say Royal. It's Metro Detroit. It's the greater Detroit area.
But can you imagine carrying what kind of food you put in your body if you live in Detroit?
Yeah, just because you live here, like, don't be healthy. Like, don't try to eat a fucking salad. Get out of here.
Yeah,
you live in Detroit. Get McDonald's every day. Supersize it every day. So on Saturdays it's a farmer's market. On Sundays it's a antique like flea market kind of thing.
Oh, dope.
So like the wacky ass people come in on Sunday. Sometimes there's I guess I'm trying to think of the better way to describe it. It's called a Rock Your World event, and it's basically people that are selling like rocks, like the different color, the gems and shit, or like the mineral rocks or whatever.
Oh, that crystal healing.
Exactly. And it brings a lot of like psychics and shit that come out to it. I've spoken about it on the podcast before if you haven't heard that one. But there's one guy that takes these photographs of your aura, and each, you go over and you sit against a wall and he takes a photograph, and then whatever filter he's got on it comes through where you get, these colors in the picture of you. Like, it's a colorful picture, and then it comes with a pamphlet after you pay for your image, of course. It comes with a pamphlet that explains what the different colors mean. It's the biggest crock of bullshit.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to like fuck with and be like, that shouldn't be there. I removed my aura years ago. What does that mean? But there have been like some legitimate researchers who have tried, or they kind of use the idea of auras to inspire more valid research. Like, by like measuring the brain waves our brain emits, and then using a visual interpretation in the style of an aura, just to like, you know what I mean? I see how they're like...
Yeah, I guess I can see that. Like, I definitely get the idea that like there are some people that when like you walk up on them or like you approach them, you kind of like, you get a feeling of like, there's something's off about this motherfucker.
A little wild in the eyes, or... Yeah,
there's something that you can, little other cues that you pick up on, and you're, kind of triggers your fight or flight kind of thing.
But that's all spiritual energy. But it's like, we don't believe in that as a supernatural thing. It's as real as you believe it to be or perceive it.
It's a vibe, man.
Yeah, it's just vibes.
It's just all vibes, bro.
Yeah. Want to check out some Alex Gray work after this?
Yeah, man. Just fucking smoke a blunt. Let's just crush this gravity bong and look at some Alex Gray. I got a 3-liter of Hawaiian Punch here. We'll make a fucking gravity bong.
Yeah, cut the bottom up. Oh my, dude, those were good.
Get the tin foil.
Yeah. Eat an apple. I still have the apple here. I will. All right. So what about this next guy? This is our kind of the other end of the spiritualist spectrum.
Yeah. So a more modern spiritual artist of note is This one I don't know how to pronounce. I should have looked this one
Piet
up.
Corns.
Cornet Cornelius Mondrian. He's actually I've known the art, but I've never heard his name before.
Anyone listening to this podcast has seen his art because it's
absolutely,
shit, and it's in the background of like every show or movies from the 70s.
All over the fucking place.
Yeah.
So Piet Cornelius Mondrian was a Dutch painter and art theoretician. I think that's right. I said enough syllables for that. Yeah. He was regarded as one of the greatest artists of the 20th century. He is known for being one of the pioneers of the 20th century abstract art, as he changed his artistic direction from figurative painting to an increasingly abstract style until he reached a point where his artistic vocabulary was reduced to simple geometric elements.
He later would only like critique art by basic colors too. He got weirder and weirder as time went on. Like some of his earlier abstract stuff was more interesting, and then he just got into cubism and like just abstract, and then just spiritual shit. But he's that loser that does they're just like white, red, blue, and yellow squares in different sizes.
Yeah.
People, if you look him up, you'll know. Just the colored square loser artist. He might have done some cool shit, but I hate, like, that is the art that I hate the most.
It's the colorscape kind of shit.
It's, like, I can deal with, like, Rothko, even, but just, like, a purely, like, cubist, like, these are different colored squares in different layouts, and this is, like, in the worst colors possible. I just don't understand. It just makes me furious.
It looks like the tile layout of a really funky like kids school bathroom.
It was the precursor to pop art. I mean it was all downhill from this guy. His art was also like turn of the 20th century, like when a time when art that sold was like weird art. Like the weirder the better, the more strange the art, the better chance you have at selling it. Yeah, I have a feeling, as much as I disliked his work, I think he probably would have been an interesting guy. I really like how he like thought about some aspects of art and some of the things he said in reflecting upon his work. Do you want to read one of these quotes he had?
To quote, "To approach the spiritual in art, one will make as little use as possible of reality, because reality is opposed to the spiritual."
I like that, and I emotionally connect with that quote. And
yeah.
I think it really sums up the driving force behind a lot of the spiritual art. It's just to disconnect from reality as much as possible in a way.
Yeah.
Like their intentions may be different, but that's basically what it is. It's just like the ultimate escapism. You put all this energy into it and you believe it's giving this energy back, but you're really just going to a different place or bringing that place to you. It's just...
Right. And I think it's also, he's really driving home that spiritual is different from reality.
Yeah.
The especially in art, the concept of spiritualism is so removed from reality, and as it should be. Like, that's the point of it, right?
Supernatural.
It's what's beyond, So, yeah, I think that's just, even he's driving home the point that it's a bunch of crock of bullshit.
Yeah, and when I was doing my more weird shit, like painting with blood or whatever, I was super into that type of thinking where it wasn't that reality wasn't real, but the only thing that was real to me was how I felt, and I assumed it is or should be that way for others. That the reality, like our world is trivial, and the only thing that matters is our emotional state or like chemical balance.
Yeah.
It's really easy. I feel like that's a really fun, not like necessarily feel good, but a fun space to like make things. But also a really way to get lost in what you're making and justify a lot of shitty creations as well.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Before we get to some of the more extreme examples, let's take a look at some of the spiritualistic methods, because these are fun.
Yeah, so here's a whole bunch of hot horse garbage made up by people to scam other people.
It's the first one.
So precipitated paintings.
Oh, real quick, I do want, because we're playing both sides of the fence, all right? Because the methods can be used for good and evil. Like, it's like the idea of magic, energy, chi, like all that shit. Like, it's on its face is trash, but with good intentions, or like you can get what you want out of it, or we'll get into it more. But it's some of the methods are like worth playing with.
I don't know. The ones that the two that we're about to talk about are not.
Okay, I'm gonna debate you on the next one. But
okay.
All right.
Okay. So precipitated paintings.
Yes.
So precipitation is the act of moisture accumulated in clouds gaining enough mass to fall from the sky in the form of rain, snow, sleet, or hail. That's how we all know it to be. Apparently, it's also the name attributed to works of art that appear on canvas without the use of human hands during a spiritualist séance. In this case, the mediums claims that the spirits produce the paintings directly rather than by the guiding of hands of a human artist.
Okay, so you're an old witch, right?
Yeah.
And you want to make your art more valuable or appeal to people who like the occult or are in vogue at the time with their weird,
okay, yeah.
Right? Like, that's on its face garbage, right?
Right.
Now, I feel like a more relevant example of it where I feel like could have some validity is what if you're, I mean, it could be an artist, but what about a musician, and you are like alcoholic, drug addict, and you do a bunch of acid and drink a lot and write your best album in a blackout. And their point of view is like, hey, I know I physically created this, but this was something spiritual that wasn't in my hands, right? I was the vessel of which this was created.
So what you're referring to is the next thing on here.
No, you got it backwards, buddy.
No, because the automatic drawing is where they were like, they're embodied by a spirit. They're embodied by something that's not them. Something else has taken control of them, and they are physically creating it.
Okay.
The precipitated paintings is saying that, like, so like you and me and some other motherfucker are in a room and we're having a seance and we're speaking to the spirits.
It's like when
we ask them to give us an image to show that you're here, or to show your response, and you look over it and there's, some kind of image there in a way, or like the Jesus in the stain on the wall, or the toast, or whatever. That's the precipitated paintings.
Almost like when an elephant paints a painting, and instead you're like, that wasn't an elephant. The spirit control. That was Jesus.
Even that would be more automatic drawing because someone is physically doing it, though.
But you can
not that the image magically just appeared there.
Okay, but automatic drawing has other definitions too. Because
that is true. There is a different form of it. But like, in this one,
sure. I think of I feel like I often practice automatic drawing.
That's
I feel like
fair.
You do too.
You kind of go into a state. No, when I draw, especially when I draw, I am laser focused. Okay. I'm very in the moment of what I'm doing and like conscious of what I'm doing.
Okay. So I guess in a more strictly spiritualistic view, automatic drawings were produced by mediums and practitioners of the psychic arts. It was thought by spiritualists to be a spirit that was producing the drawing while physically taking control over the medium's body. An alternative term for this is psychic painting. Okay, yeah. I feel like it's a very common like art thing now, though, to think of automatic drawing as like a meditative state in which you draw without thinking about what you're drawing.
Right. And
Same
I think
premise.
what you're putting on that is a not crazy spin on saying that, like, when you're in a place where you're making art, you're removed a little bit from it because you're in a zen, and you're in a place of comfort, where you can allow yourself to kind of let loose and let go of the reins for a minute.
Yeah.
What they're saying is,
I get it.
A ghost went into my body and made me paint this painting.
And the stupid part is it's really the same premise with different explanations on opposite ends of the spectrum, because it's the same shit. It's just like
the difference I think is that the people that are claiming to be doing this style of drawing or painting, they're not actually feeling that. They are saying that.
Oh,
well, not all of them.
That's a good question.
I think that a decent amount of them are like, oh, I can make these drawings and paintings and just say that, my gimmick is a spirit came into my body, especially in that time of the.
Well, I mean, here's the question though: is where's the split on spiritualist arts that are either mentally ill or fraudulent? Like, because I feel like a lot of like psychics, mediums, people that believe crazy shit, a decent amount of them are like, hustlers and shit like that. But I think more than not, maybe 60-40, they believe that shit.
Yeah, and that's true too.
And artists are dumb.
I feel like more,
really dumb.
I think more of that also comes from the groundwork that was laid by people that were like, that started like the spiritualist movement kind of thing. And they set the groundwork to be like, this is normal. This is a thing that just happens. And it's like when you go to church and there are people that are like, oh, I caught the Holy Ghost, or I'm feeling it. They feel enlightened because they have this. And it's like, there's a whole thing about that where like you're in a moment where everyone's like singing a song or they're doing a thing, and like you're a part of something that's bigger than you, and that triggers a part of your brain that's like, I'm connected to, I feel connections.
It's very similar to the state of awe. Like they say the state of awe, or like the mob mentality. Those are specific states of mind that your brain chemistry changes in ways that are
there's also a thing where you ever seen the God helmet?
I know you shared something about that. I can't remember what it was.
They like put someone in a dark room, like sensory deprived or whatever, and then they were completely alone in this dark room, and they put on this helmet that had like, I don't think it was like the TMS, like the magnetic stimulation, but it was something similar where they're like triggering a part of the brain, and this part of the brain is like helps you like see your surroundings or some shit like that. But all these people were like, they could see other people in the room. Sometimes it was one, sometimes it was multiple people. They felt like there were other people in the room with them, and there never was. That's what they felt when they came out of it.
They had Jesus
some of them
in
were
their bones.
Some of them were like pointing out like there was a person there and there, or there was like 3 people over here. And
dude, I have felt that sensation in a different way. Like 100%.
It's just it's like a trigger thing in your brain that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this next one's kind of fun.
Yeah, this part is cool. I think this is very interesting. So, spirit architecture.
Okay.
The Ayula Hasdu Castle is built in the form of a small castle by historian and politician Bogdan Petrisu Hasdu. Damn. I think that's the right way I'm saying that. In the city of Campina, Romania. He claimed that his dead daughter, Ayula Hasdu, provided the plans for building the castle during sessions of spiritism. And the
spiritism.
I
like that.
Spiritism.
Yep. The spirit just coming everywhere.
The castle itself is very cool looking.
It reminds me of labyrinths in the idea of like,
yeah.
Have you ever done those? I forget what culture it's from, but the mazes that you walk for walking meditation, It's like based off the idea of a labyrinth. It's like a Buddhist circle kind of deal.
Yeah, I've seen those at like various. There's like one at Sawyer Point, isn't there?
I don't know.
Or Sawyer Park.
But I fucking love those things, dude. There's something about the staying in motion while meditating. It's a different. You get there easier, for me at least.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's the same idea of like designing architecture based upon those like root feelings or ideas. I mean, it sounds like for them it was more occulty, but
there's actually one of those at the Dali Museum as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. But the castle thing and the whole spirit architecture made us both think of the Winchester Mansion.
Yeah.
Out in San Jose. That place is... everyone's heard of that place.
Yeah, what a fucking...
If you've ever watched
crazy.
any Ripley's Believe It or Not...
Believe it or not.
It's such a wild, story in general, but...
Believe it or not, mentally ill lady building house with doors and stairs to nowhere. Believe it or not.
Waiting for Dean Cain to come around the corner.
Here's a big shark tooth. Believe it or not.
Was it always Dean Cain? Did Richard Karn ever take that over? For some reason, I remember Richard Karn being in the mix there.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, look up the Winchester Mansion. It's very, very cool. Very, stairs to nowhere. The idea was that the woman is the heir to the Winchester rifle family, and there's all these spirits that are haunting her and haunting the home. And she had this place like continuously worked on and like continuously built up for like 30 years or some shit until she died. And it was like hallways to nowhere and like stairs that just led to a huge drop and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it was like to house the spirits and to calm the spirits.
Well, supposedly she was overcome by grief of all the people murdered by the guns her family made. So she wanted to be able to lose the spirits that would follow her in her house.
Yeah.
So she kept expanding it, and she knew all the passageways to escape them in her own house. Like she was just haunted by her family legacy until she went mad and just like kept building. And it is like a surrealist like wonderland. I've always wanted to go because it looks buck wild. Yeah. I feel like
of course you go and you take the tour now. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure the tour isn't. They keep you away from all the really dangerous spots, I'm sure.
I feel like it's just one of those ones where it's such a cool idea and like a picture collage, it's cool, but in reality it's just like a poorly constructed mansion. You're like, eh.
That's also fair. That's probably true.
I'm a pessimist, though.
It's one of those, keep it in your brain as a really cool place that exists. Don't go there and ruin it.
Yeah.
That's probably fair.
Do we got one more? Because I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So, how much does it matter what's real or what we believe is? That was a bad...
Damn, that's a really deep-ass question, Steven. No, that's got multiple answers. It's a loaded one.
It is, but does it matter, like...
Should have asked that in the existentialism episode.
I feel like what we feel matters a lot more than what is actually truth or reality.
Well, at a certain level, what you feel is real.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely situations where you can prove something to be true or false. It's when it gets to the idea of faith that it gets blurry. Especially for me if it's in terms of like, I don't know, the way you feel about yourself or the way you feel that other people, think of you or, I don't know, shit like that. It's like, can believe whatever the fuck you want to believe, I guess, because it's for you and yourself. When it gets into, I don't know, it's a weird thing for me. Like when you get into like religion, it's like, I don't know. You can't say like, "Oh, I believe in the Bible, so that makes it real to me." It's like, well, you believe in that, so you're an idiot.
I feel like you just got stuck on the Bible. I feel like it's fair for people to impose their beliefs as much as they want, in the sense where I believe that is wrong. Right? But that's how I feel. Like, what I feel about that is the only thing that matters. And no one should be able to, like, change or alter that. But I feel like everyone is entitled to that. So, like, the Winchester lady, she feels that this ghosts are chasing her in her haunted house. She's Scooby-Dooing all the rest of her life, right?
Go in this doorway, come out the other.
As her brain is just riddled with syphilis, I'm sure. So, like, her believing that is more real to her than any other objective outside perspective could be. And
yes,
I don't know. I just don't think you can change, like, a flat earther, right? Unless they change their own mind, like their world is flat.
Okay, I see where you're coming from with that question now.
I didn't phrase it well. I used to feel that so strongly, especially when I was playing with my brain chemistry a lot and was unable to consider others' perspectives as much. But I still hold true that like a part of my fundamental beliefs is the feeling, maybe it's not a belief so much now, but a feeling that what I feel matters a lot more than what is real. It's kind of like the Matrix. Like if the steak tastes real, it's just as real, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, or like the Truman Show thing.
Yeah, and it may be foolish, but
I recognized how absurd it was. But I felt like this was happening, and there was like returning thoughts that was like, "This is real." See, that's another thing that's proves that it's real. Kind of shit like that. That no matter how much I recognize the logic was absurd,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it makes it hard with any form of illness when you can't logic your way out of it. It makes it very hard to combat the spread of people feeling bad things.
Yeah, and even when you can logic it out, there's still there's still the thing that like, but why do I feel this way then? If that's not true, then why, if the Truman Show thing wasn't real, why did I feel that way? Why did I have all of these? Why was it such a reoccurring thing? And why did I see so many? I also relate it to when I found out that I wasn't allergic to milk. No, this is kind of funny in this way because it was like for years we thought that I had an allergic, like dermatological reaction to milk, that I would get like hives and rashes on my face when I had dairy. So for like years, we abstained from it until I was maybe like 16 or 17 and went to a better dermatologist, and they said, "Oh no, that's seborrheic dermatitis." And I was like, "Oh, but what about the milk allergy? How does that relate with that?" And they were like, "You might be allergic to milk, but it's got nothing to do with that." And so I had to like go back and test the waters and like, "Oh no, I can have dairy whenever the fuck I want to."
Back on the milk water.
But there was such even when I was asking her, like, but that doesn't make any sense. Like when I have dairy, I get flare-ups. And she was like, I don't know, that's a weird coincidence, but it has nothing to do with it. So.
I feel like that's like almost like placebo level. Like you believe it to be true. Your body responds that way.
Well, I found out later on that there were other reasons why that happened, because most of the time it would flare up over the weekend, and it would be weekends when I was like partying with my friends, and
rolling
we would
in
be
poison ivy and
yeah, or like we would be like high, so it would be like, all right, fuck it, I'm gonna have ice cream anyways, and
you know what's really wild? All right, some
What?
codeine hospital stuff. There is a way larger amount of people that, and I'm going to mispronounce it, that have hyperemesis gravidatum, whatever, where that marijuana makes them like throw up uncontrollably.
really,
It's a much higher percentage than because. All right, so old weed shit was like, they demonized the fuck out of it. All the satanic panic, it makes you go schizo, all that shit.
mm-hmm.
The reality now is like they push that it is completely harmless, non-addictive, all this shit. And some of that is true, but there's also like a lot of research. Like if you are schizophrenic, marijuana is one of the easiest ways to set off adult schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Or to have psychotic breaks. And it's normally that you are prone to it anyway, but it's like, maybe less than 100% or 1% of people that smoke for the first time, they risk triggering a mental health event, or that there's a percentage of people that it makes them extremely sick to their stomach. And it's really weird, but there are tons of people that just like throw up all the fucking time.
That's wild. I don't get that at all, but I don't even get like sick to my stomach, but I found that lately smoking weed or getting, ingesting any weed at all is an appetite suppressant.
Mm-hmm. That's how I was.
Yeah. I growing up, it was always like I would get the munchies real hardcore. And then lately I've been dabbling in it again, and it's just like I don't fucking want to eat.
Yeah.
One day I got I ordered a bunch of Taco Bell DoorDash, and I was really excited about it. I was like, "Fuck, it's my day off. I'm gonna
Dude,
smoke a joint."
Taco Bell.
Yeah, man, I wasn't leaving my fucking house for shit.
You're out of control.
I was like, "Fuck it, I ain't doing shit today. I'm ordering Taco Bell," and I smoked up a big old fat joint before it got here, and then I sat down with it, and I was like, "I don't even want to eat this anymore."
That's the funniest shit ever. Just throwing away $10.
I mean, I put it in the fridge for later, but
when I was
just like, this is fucking stupid.
If I just smoke and I'm like sober for a while or like not using anything else, it'll give me the munchies. But if I have like other drug addiction stuff going on, it does. I don't ever throw up, but it makes me. Like, especially looking back on it, it made me severely sick to my stomach often.
Oh, that's weird.
I never thought about it because it's just, there were so many other factors in the mix, too.
Now, I've definitely heard from people throwing up because they take too big of a hit at one time.
Yeah.
I've seen somebody take a big old gravity bong rip and go straight to the bathroom and throw up.
I love when people would puke into the bong, especially when it was a clear glass bong and you could just...
It's like a $200 bong, and they just throw up in it.
You just pass it right to the next person and bubble it back up.
Oh, God damn it.
Where are we going? What do we got next?
Well, I do want to mention this other spiritual architecture thing because it is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So in the 1880s, Senator Federico Rosazza. Let's say that again. Senator Federico Rosazza, an Italian politician connected with Masonic and spiritualist circles, commissioned the painter and architect Giuseppe Maffei to convert a pre-existing village into a new town with his name, Rosazza. A spiritualist, Maffei, a spiritualist, claimed that he received messages on how to build Rosazza from the spirits, including St. Augustine. So this whole village that he converted into this town for this politician, he claimed that he built on with guidance from the spirit world.
I don't know if that's South America stuff.
No, Italy.
Oh, I know like Brazil, South America, like they have, even today, have such a problem with mysticism and psychic shit.
Yeah.
Mexico too, in a different way.
That's like a big part of like their like older culture too, is spiritualism and stuff.
All the drug dealers are very like they pay, like they like tithe money to mystical leaders and shit.
Of course.
It's so like, but like weird shit, like not even the major church. There's a lot of weird shit. I feel like Satanism is in the same vein, like from LaVey to like artists now. It's almost like just like a modern spiritual aesthetic. Like it's not even authentic spiritualism. It's just like the aesthetic of a dark, edgy spiritualism.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get that, and I recognize it, and I embrace that somewhat.
Same.
You know, I think it's the aesthetic that I resonate with. I like upside down crosses and shit.
But it sucks though, like the new satanic temple, the one doing like fighting against Texas abortion stuff, the temple, whatever. That dude Graves, whatever the fuck his name is, like they're doing some really cool shit, but it's still, you know, still a church. But it's kind of weird though now that it doesn't feel like there's any form of spiritualism connected with like satanic spiritual shit. So it's just it's just like purely aesthetic.
Yeah.
Which is better, but now it's like the aesthetic's getting kind of worn out a little bit. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe in your circles, but I don't see that so much.
My circle is just me.
Yeah, I was gonna say you kind of drown yourself in it.
I'm like, well, in my part of the world, it's getting pretty cheesy.
Yeah. I think I saw somebody else that had had like the Lucifer sigil tattooed on the back of their hand, and I thought that was kind of cool. Like I was like, oh, that's really dope. And you could tell they look like, oh, no one ever understands what that is. Or someone else said something about, I have the Leviathan's cross on, I wear it as a pin on one of my hats sometimes. And someone was like, oh, I really like your brimstone thing. And I had to look that up because I hadn't heard it called that before. But it's like the sigil it's also considered like a sigil of carbon because it's what makes up man kind of thing.
Okay, that's some modern Satanist bullshit right there. Carbon.
Well, you know, it's just one of the reasons why it's called that, as opposed to the Leviathan cross.
But even like you know, I got dumb Satan shit on my body, right? It's still like spiritual motifs, even if it's like an anti-spiritual in a sense. Like for me, it holds no like mystical spiritualism, but it does have personal like meaning. Right. But it is also lame though, right? Like if I see someone else with a pentagram tattoo or a Satan sigil, I'm like, fucking loser. And then like I look down at my arm like,
oh yeah. Well, that is the thing. There are a lot of fucking, you know, cringe people in that in the world of the Satanist shit. Yeah. That get it. They get the tattoos like you're talking about, or wear the shit for I don't know, shittier reasons. Like you said, you have a personal connection to it in your own way. That maybe they have their own personal connection to it. Maybe they got that because they thought it was edgy. Yeah, or kind of thing.
It's worse if they actually believe in anything. To me, I see it as what religion or culture is it that have the prayer bells where you run your hands across them. It's in Asia.
Like a Tibetan thing?
Tibet. Yeah, the Tibetan temples that have the prayer bells.
Yeah.
And like, you keep them rolling. Like something like that is like, it's a spiritual symbol of sorts that you actively like charge or load, right? Like the energy you put into it over time, people keeping that as a tradition, it gives it meaning. But like to someone who doesn't know what they are, there is no like inherent energy, meaning, power, spiritualism. It's just a fucking bell spinning. But to someone who has contributed energy, spiritual energy into it, it can mean a lot. So it's like you're charging or loading like, spiritual energy into symbols for meaning. And I
even if that meaning is just anti the anti-spiritualism.
Right. Yeah.
It's still a meaning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still an energy that you are investing into that.
That's what I really like about the like different sigil, like the art of sigil drawing for, the little demonic circles that you summon your demons with. But
yeah. I have
offer prayer.
I got one of the books I got from Barnes and Noble. It's a necromantic ritual guide.
Mm-hmm.
And
is
it's
it the
just
Necronomicon?
No, it's not the Necronomicon. This is different.
Gotcha.
This is real, Steven. It's the necromantic ritual book. It's a paperback and it's got silver embossing on the front, so it's real. Also, but it has a bunch of pages of like those kind of symbols in it, and that was one of the main reasons I even got it. Was I was like, this looks really cool. The aesthetic of this is fucking dope. I thought that was a good purchase.
So I've done various like spirit demon summoning shit, and I feel like that sounds really lame. First, taking it as a serious ritual, and I feel like you have to put energy into it, but the goal should always be to do drugs and have sex. It's not about demons.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. It's
these are the key points that Crowley had right.
True.
His whole thing was like, fuck a lot, fuck anyone and everyone.
He was lost
all
in
the
the
time.
sauce though, because he believed in his own bullshit too much.
Yeah, he started falling into it.
Because like, all right, let's say you're dating someone witchy and you want to do some stupid demon ritual as an excuse to like, personally connect and have a fun night, right?
Yeah. Well, you have the Satanic Bible especially tells you that sexual energy is one of the strongest and the easiest to come into. And really, when you perform your ceremony at the pinnacle of your climax, you're going to have a better result in the spell.
The cum aura.
The cum aura.
But I feel like Crowley would be the type of nerd who ruins the orgy ritual because the sigil was drawn. Yeah. Like, guys, stop. Everybody stop doing heroin. We have to draw the symbol.
Oh, God damn.
We have to ring the bells in the right order.
If we don't, what are we even doing here? If the sigil's wrong, then why are we're just a bunch of assholes getting high and fucking all day.
Trying to open the seventh seal to the ninth dimension. And all you guys want to do is have sex.
Never should have started this church.
All right, what about like meditative calligraphy, like of prayers, or what are they called, the medieval books where
tomes?
No, the other one. There's a special name. Just medieval texts where everything had to be done in calligraphy by the monks, and there was a special name because they held that significant spiritual element because of the intention on the art.
I know what you're speaking of. I don't know the word that you're looking for.
We both know it. It's good.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. There's definitely, even when I'm like doing a whole thing with font, I had to do a menu. We had to build a menu for one of our classes in culinary school, and it was like a quarter, project kind of thing. So we had months to work on it. A group project. We had to come up with a menu for things that paired with a certain kind of wine, and we had to write out the food description and then the ingredient list and then cost breakdown. It was like kind of a take everything you're learning from these other classes and combine it into one, and then make it into like a really well presented, beautiful menu. And I took what I have the experience of like the book binding, and I made it like a leather bound thing, and it was handwritten with this like old English kind of font, or like not old English, like a Celtic kind of style font. And it was, I wrote everything. And I did it all in maybe 18 hours, just straight. I stayed up that night, all night, working on it. And and part of it was the sleeplessness, but it very much became a religious experience for me while I'm like just focused and meditated to that and listening to Buckethead. And I'm sure I was smoking cigarettes.
The illuminated manuscripts is what I was.
There it is. Yeah, manuscripts.
They light the pages with gold, and they illuminate.
Yeah. All the first letter of the text was always, super illustrated and elaborate.
Yeah. Dude.
Very fucking cool.
Eating a pomegranate on a bunch of heroin. I'm telling you, bro. Xanax, heroin, and a big juicy pomegranate, and you will meet the spirits.
Just because it's so much work trying to get all the seeds and shit out?
It takes like 2 hours. You keep nodding off, and then you find more, and they're all over your shirt, and then you got juice all over you. It's that's church. The
last time I did acid, we were all standing outside smoking cigarettes, and it was raining. And there's another group of people that was inside, and they were like sitting in a circle doing like a prayer meditation thing. No. And we were outside on the back porch, like looking in at them, like, what the fuck are they doing? And then one of them came out and they're like, I can't take any more of that. It's fucking ridiculous. And I said, what you should really try to do is smoking a cigarette in the pouring rain. That's meditation. That takes focus. It keeps going out on you, and you got to keep it lit and kind of rotate it every now and then, try to keep it out of the rain.
Dude, that's a vibe. And you get the extra smoky hits because the paper gets,
steam.
Did you ever have an apartment where you smoked in the shower?
No.
Dude, I never... For like 5 years straight, I probably never had less than 2 cigarettes while taking a shower. Bro, I would light a cigarette at the start of my shower, and I'd sit there with like half my body in.
Oh my God, this just sounds disgusting.
And then I would like pass out from dehydration and heat exhaustion. And then at the end of the shower, I'd turn the other side and smoke a second cigarette.
Jesus Christ.
And that's when you know you're fully washed.
It's like getting one of those timers for brushing your teeth, but it's cigarettes in the shower.
You smoke one, but then you put
balls in while
you put the second cigarette in your the toothbrush holder. And you just let it sizzle out like an incense stick, and that's when you stop brushing.
Damn. Yeah, like an incense. A fucking formaldehyde incense.
If you really want to fuck with someone at a party, you just... when everyone's busy, you go to the kitchen, and you throw a spare pack of cigarettes in the oven. And I know cigarettes... I know cigarettes are expensive and all, but it's a pretty good use of
It's a good
$7.
prank. Just
And you just turn the oven on real low. And then you leave before you get cancer.
it just starts a fire. Their house burns down.
Funny jokes.
Gotcha.
Here's one I actually liked a lot. So I was watching a TED talk about this woman who did body modification stuff. She was a tattoo artist, and she actually got into tattooing. I believe someone in her life was affected by breast cancer, and she had came across the people doing different ways of tattooing nipples for reconstructing a breast after a mastectomy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she got into tattooing specifically for that. And in the past, tattoos were often used as a form of spiritual marking, but with increasingly practical medical purposes, it's become a method that helps a lot of women heal from something as traumatic as breast cancer.
Yeah.
And she found it to be her spiritual medium.
Yeah, that's really I've actually heard of that before, and I think it's a very noble and awesome thing that you can do. Imagine losing any part of your body at all, but something that you would see every day in the mirror, something on your front,
Yeah.
that when you've already gone through something as traumatic as one, even finding out that you have cancer, because the implications of that are terrifying. And then, you go through the treatment of it and, they remove parts of your body to have that to make you feel human again, to make you feel whole again.
See, I think that's the most authentic form of a spirit medium, is something that you're actually, there's no spirits involved. You're just helping and healing people.
Right.
With your art form. That's cool as fuck. Nipple art. Look into it. Look up TED Talk nipple art.
We need more of it.
Yes. Yeah, I like that one a lot. What about this is kind of a jump. Salvador's Key, because we somehow missed this one on our surrealism episode.
Oh yeah, this thing where he slept with the key or something like that.
Yeah, where he was teaching himself how to get into lucid dreaming, so he slept with a big brass key. So when it while sitting in a chair, so as soon as he fell into too deep of a slumber, he dropped the key, and it would wake him the fuck up, and it helped him stay or control his lucid dreaming.
Wow, what a fucking weirdo he was. I mean, I like the idea of lucid dreaming. I think I told you I got into that a little bit myself, and then it ended in I flew in my dream, and I had some of the most wild dreams I can remember, and then I had too many of them that were just way anxiety ridden and were really bad, and I didn't do it anymore after that.
You should try again soon.
I had that night terror thing where the sleep paralysis.
Yeah.
Where I woke up and I wasn't really awake. I was still in my dream and I couldn't move my body, and that was fucked up. I'm good on that.
Yeah, I rarely dream well. It's the same as tripping for me, where it's mostly nightmare hell.
Did I ever read you the dreams that I wrote down?
I know you read me something. Been a bit.
Yeah, I got some that I can. Well, maybe we'll make an episode out of that. That'll be fun.
But I liked how. So there was no spirit shit for Salvador, but it still was. The idea of dreaming was still a spiritual experience to him, where he was connecting with something, even if it was just his unconscious, and he definitely used that to influence and channel in and out of his work. That's for sure. Rods and cones. So
rods and cones.
Alternate light spectrums. We've talked about like UV photography.
Yeah.
I like the idea, that with certain genetic conditions, we could have different amounts of rods and cones that would change our color spectrum. And that's something they're experimenting with now. And I think there's been some cases where people can see slightly different color spectrums. But imagine like 200 years ago, you're an artist and you can perceive color differently than everyone else in the world, or you're drawing and painting spirits because you're seeing something that no one else is able to, but it would actually be there. Like the ghosts in the photos or your drawings were like alternate color spectrums that you couldn't understand, or the people around you, they thought you're spiritual and it's really this, genetic, condition.
Right.
Or like the witches really just had this extra rod and cone bumping around their eyeballs that looked... It wasn't the ergot or whatever, it was the rods and cones.
That's right.
Yeah.
We can, what you said, through like genetic things, we can get to that point, and it's possible that we eventually will.
Yes.
Although within our current circumstances, there's no like real reason for us to naturally come to that, because we see enough to survive on what we need. We can make eventually, we can make tools to see infrared. We have X-ray, we have the ultraviolet and shit like that. What if we really want to get to the point where like we are as a species evolving with these, extra rods and cones? You really have to get to work with it, and there's some implications involved. Number one, all the colorblind people castrated immediately. Just
top of the pyre to you.
Top of the pyre.
Fuck out of here, blind.
Sorry, John. That's just the way it's got to be. It's for the future of our people. And we want them to see cooler colors than we can see right now.
Yes.
Probably, maybe.
Dude, there was nothing I wouldn't give. Like, if that is a superpower I could have, oh my God. I would destroy cities to get that.
Get the 16 rods and cones that the mantis shrimp has.
Yeah, I'm seeing an 8-bit, and I want 32-bit. I
want 32-bit, not even 4K.
I want trip vision.
You want that high. You want that. You're sick of the RGB. You want the CM. Is it CMYK?
I always get the M and the Y backwards. I have a controversial opinion.
Okay.
I, as a digital artist, work in RGB, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
That means nothing to me. I mean, from what I understand of or I guess of what I thought of that whole thing was like the cyan magenta thing is like better for printing.
It is. I won't say it's better, but it's traditional for printing.
Okay.
You print in the wider color spectrums, and digital is RGB. But if you're a digital artist making things for print, they often tell you to work in CYMK or to convert your shit for print colors. And I believe they are wrong.
Well,
I've had this conversation.
You take your stance and you die on that hill, Steven.
I've had this conversation with a lot of graphic designers, though, and I genuinely think a lot of people don't understand, or it's the same. It's in the same vein of like what is most accurately perceived is more important than what is technically correct.
What's most important, I think, when you're looking at, what's better, or, whether it's like for your style or just for like in general, like what's a better way to go, what you really have to ask yourself is, what are the spirits telling me to do?
Yes, because
what are the ghosts that are in my house, in my body, telling me to do?
The ghost in the printer.
Yeah.
The ghost in the printer tells me I can get brighter colors in 3-spectrum RGB than I would ever get flattening in CYMK. And I think the ghost printer is correct.
Now, here's the real question. Is the ghost in the printer also the one that tells them, don't connect to my Wi-Fi and make it really hard for me to use the printer every time I need to use the printer?
It's the guardian of the Wi-Fi.
He might be gay. You don't know.
It's the gay ghost guardian.
But I don't see how that's relevant to the conversation, Steven.
Dude, I can't talk sometimes.
Don't go out and ghosts on the podcast.
What about spiritual places? Which I would consider places that people just pour energy into, like places of worship, or my favorites of landscape stuff are always depictions of like heaven and hell shit.
You know, it's interesting that you went in that way, because the first thing I thought of when you said spiritual locations, and I agree, it's like places where people, they pour their spiritual energy. I just stumbled a whole lot on that. Places where people invest a lot of their energy in. And for me, the first place I thought of was, the park it's right off of Mount Hope when you go up from Glenway and you take Mount Hope up, and then you take the side street. Is that Purcell? It's not Purcell. It's a different side street.
There's no spiritual places in Price Hill, though. I promise.
There's that Church of the Nazarene that looks pretty cool.
Nothing spiritual has ever happened in Price Hill.
That's also very fair.
I know what you mean.
But there's a little park over there where you go up, and there's like a couple swings or whatever at the front. But if you keep walking, there's an overlook that looks over the city and the river, and it's a really cool lookout point. I've been going to for my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's always, the swing set changes, but the place is still the same. And that was the first place I thought of when you said spiritual locations. Is like I get a emotional response from being there, and I'm sure a lot of it's just nostalgia.
Yeah, but that's one of your spiritual
response.
Places.
Yeah.
I have a particular spot in the woods that's one of my places.
Yeah.
And it's like you put energy into it your entire lifetime, and it does become significant.
The even the Stanberry tree. There's a tree that we used to go meet up with in Stanberry Park, and it was it used to be like a couple of like rocks that were positioned in a way that kind of looked like chairs, and we would go smoke in the park there, and it was like equidistant between a couple friends' houses, so we would meet there. And then during a big the storm after Hurricane Ike came through and knocked down a bunch of trees, this big ass fucking tree fell in this area, and it was dubbed Stanberry Tree, and we would go chill on top of the tree or next to the tree. And I have a picture of the tree that I took before I moved out of Cincinnati, and I still get a nostalgic emotional response when I look at the picture, and it's just a fucking old dead tree on the ground. But
it's like battlefields. Like what I don't understand is like, imagine going to like a famous battlefield or like some Holocaust shit, like a Dachau or some shit, and you're like I feel like, imagine someone being like, I feel the spirits in the air, like all the people that died here, like that, like feeling like it's real to me would be so crazy, because just the fact that like that many people died in a place makes it hollowed ground. There's no need for the supernatural. It's, I don't know, something worth remembering for some reason happened here type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Cemeteries special.
Yeah, cemeteries for sure. I used to eat lunch in a cemetery that was near my old work in Florida, and I would bike there because work was close to home anyways, and I would just bike around the area before I had to go in, or like when I got a break from work, I would just bike around the neighborhood a little bit, and I would regularly eat lunch in the cemetery just because it was a quiet spot and they had benches. Until one day I went to go eat lunch there and I saw someone else doing it. And I realized that it was the saddest thing that I'd ever seen in my entire life.
That's funny.
Because they were probably there like eating lunch with someone they knew that had passed. And I was just there. I don't know anybody there. It's just, there was a bench that wasn't in front, it wasn't surrounded by a bunch of people and there were trees around.
It's calming though.
It is. And I also, this cemetery was not well maintained. There was a lot of trash around. And while I was there, I usually would pick up trash in a way that was just like, it's absurd that there's this much litter on the ground right now here in this place where I come and I'm trying to have a calm, peaceful meal. But also, I feel weird about like it's disrespectful to the dead that lay underneath there because also that. Like they're dead. Yeah. It doesn't matter. But it's also like this is absurd that like no one's come to mow this grass in obviously multiple weeks. Yeah, like and down there that means sad. A lot. That means that shit was like really overgrown. It's it was very sad.
But it's if your spirit is hungry for some melancholy energy, there's a lot to gobble up in the graveyards.
That's right. There's more than just hummus in those graveyards. That's what I would eat. It was veggies and hummus. Made with a little turkey sandwich.
Oh my god. Fuck sandwiches, dude.
Get the fuck out of here, fuck sandwiches. Fuck you, Steven.
I'll never eat a cold cut. I'm not a homeless person.
Get the fuck out of here.
Dude, who the fuck eats cold cuts?
Fuck spiritual art. We're talking about sandwiches right now.
Sam said he eats cold cuts too, and I didn't care for that one bit. I don't understand what's wrong with you guys.
Steven, you're an absolute fucking lunatic.
But they're so cold. They're cold thin slices
cold cuts
of processed meat. It's so bad.
Well, first of all,
I don't care about processed, but it's cold and thin.
First of all, get this through your dense fucking skull, okay? A deli meat sandwich only sucks if you suck at making sandwiches.
It doesn't matter because thin, cold pieces of meat are disgusting. I'll eat fried bologna.
Here's a cool part. You can take any deli meat sandwich and put it on a press or put it in a toaster.
I'm all for that. But if somebody gives me a cold sandwich, I have to gag it down.
I don't get that. I understand saying that, like, I prefer a toasted sandwich. I prefer the meat. I prefer my sliced meat sandwich to be hot. I do get that. But if you're telling me that a nice, refreshing, cold turkey sandwich with, a little bit of mayo and some crisp lettuce and tomato is bad, get the fuck out of here, Steven.
I just shove it down into my printer for the ghost. I'm not eating that. That's how I get the great
just
colors.
Just put it in the paper receptacle.
That's how I get all the good colors on my art. Feed it sandwiches. It's a hungry little fella.
That's how you get that gloss sheet on that paper, is all that mayo.
It's all that mayo and ham oil. You have to keep the art in the fridge or else it spoils.
You start growing your art. It becomes its own ecosystem.
Dude, my diary thing, it's growing.
God damn it!
One day it's gonna be a cause of a new disease. It's gonna be
or the cure to one. And then the joke's on you.
COVID-21, like penicillin. He grew it in his sink on accident with his dirty dishes. I'm gonna cure cancer with this.
Hey, you got that unvaxxed blood on there, man. You could probably sell that for a ton of money.
All right, maybe the last one, blood art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously,
that's
cheesy.
That's literally someone's blood and whatnot in that. There's no way that, at least for them, you have to have a spiritual connection to that. And for someone that's looking at it, feeling it, I don't know what the fuck you're touching it for, but it's, there's definitely I feel like there's a resonation with that. I definitely got that from looking at the Liquid Diary.
Where I have mixed feelings is there's a ton of blood artists now, and I feel like for me, the defining factor is how you get the blood, and it's if you use a needle or not. I feel like if you use a needle, because there's some people that do really technical paintings, like portraits with 30 different shades of blood, how they water it down, and they do these beautiful technical paintings, and that's kind of cool. Or if you need a ton of blood, I feel like it's fair if you use a needle to get it. But I feel like if you're actually like just painting with blood or bodily fluids, it should be violent, and that it shouldn't be as clinical as like just making a natural like vegan paint.
Robbing the lifeblood truck.
Yeah, like I feel like I don't know, to use it correctly, you should be inflicting violence. So you can rob the berry, the sweeter the juice.
But you have to like beat some people up while you do it, at least.
I think you can.
he's violently assaulted people as he stole this blood.
Yeah, like if you're a serial killer painting with victims' blood, that's fine.
Very different from what I said.
That's fine, but you can't be.
Fine.
But you can't be just like.
I almost just let that go.
But you can't just be like clinically like paying a nurse practitioner to get blood from you once a week to paint with. That's a little too in vogue, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you. Okay.
A little too highbrow for me.
I do get you on that a little bit.
I want infected pussing wounds. Okay? You had to work to get that blood. I want scar tissue.
I think the main part of stuff like that is the feeling that it evokes.
That's fair.
Because art's made to be subjective, right? It's up to interpretation, but sometimes it is very clear the certain emotion or a train of thought that it's meant to be pushed onto the viewer. And when you're doing something that's made with bodily fluids in general, there is a visceral reaction to that. Mm-hmm. Of differently if it's blood or if it's, shit or something that you're using as a medium, there is a clear thing that you're trying to put into the mind of the viewer, like the fucking robotic arm that's just like pushing around the blood.
Yeah, that's the clinical version, and that's like for me at its best, right? I
can see that.
Rare, but I would prefer it to be a human arm, splashing the blood. It's
rotting while it's just being flipped around and shit.
Exactly. Dude, if I ever have to go to prison for a life sentence, I'm gonna be the prison poop master general. Like you gotta do something.
One of my uncles, I don't even remember what the fuck he did. But he used to tell me stories of this place where he used to work at. It was some kind of like factory or he was like a machinist or something like that. And there'd be like some dude at his work that took a poopy out of the fucking toilet and he made a little, like a man, like a little statue of a dude and like propped it up in the urinal or something. Like,
that would make me laugh forever.
Right?
Oh my God.
But it's just like also he might have just been telling me this story because I was 7.
Yeah.
But told it to me like, this guy, this wild dude that I work with did this. You're going to love this story.
All right, let me run something. Well, I know we got a couple things to touch on before bouncing.
Yeah.
I wanted to. All right, so I feel like the last big couple questions for me are kind of the difference between the real authentic spiritualists and the illness, like or those who believe and those who don't believe. I feel like that matters. And then.
Are you gatekeeping spiritualistic art?
Maybe. Like I don't
even feel bad about it.
And that kind of goes with my second question, though, is I feel like there's not real. It really shouldn't exist. I think true spiritual art today is things like art therapy or like just being an artist who their art is a grounding medium or a form of meditation. But I think there should be increasingly less acceptance for art that holds an authentic belief in occult or spiritual shit. And that's
yeah, I get that. Yeah,
that's my feeling for it. If I was an artist that engaged in that, and a lot of my art like dabbles in those aesthetics, but if I met another artist who did similar shit as to what I do, but they felt very passionately about believing in that shit, I feel like they should be excluded.
Right. Yeah, no, there's definitely a I don't know, like it just goes to like it's scammy.
Yeah.
If they actually believe in it, like you said, it's their belief is their feelings are their reality, but
I agree. I agree it is real to them if they believe it, but I also feel like it should be encouraged that it is unacceptable to believe in weak-willed thinking.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, we've gone on with that.
Yeah,
I feel like there's so much of that, the con shit that goes on with. I mean, especially religious shit. I mean, that's basically what's the spiritualism thing is. It's just a different religion, right?
Yeah.
It's a different way of looking at the afterlife and I think so many people will connect those two so freely.
It's like their own handcrafted religious beliefs, right? Like they're inventing the rules as they go. They're choosing what means what. They're creating their own dogma. Like it's a way to justify illness.
I will say that the people that are making it because if they're making it because they're saying that a spirit possessed them and had them and came to them and did this or helped them do this, that's buck wild and crazy. If they're saying, like you said, that it's a type of art, like a meditation, a type of art therapy, I get that 100%. That's totally cool and fine. There's a third doer of this spiritual art that is exploiting the feeling that the art is evoking in other people by saying that, they were possessed or whatever and they made the shit. Because the emotional response loosens the purse strings. That's just a fact. It's one of the oldest sales tactics in the world and it works.
Yeah.
If you want to sell an idea to someone, not even a physical thing, you have to connect to their core. I mean, you see that with like NFTs too. Like the people that are buying that are buying it for status.
Yeah, because they believe in the creators that rug pull them. Like it is a community where they love the creator that's bringing them the art.
Or even if that's not the thing and they're just like, I need to get on this NFT trend and I need to have this because I see other people around me that have it. So I need to hold one too. I need to have this JPEG.
Sure.
So that I don't look like, the poor person here. I don't look like the weak person here. I look like I have status.
Yeah.
And it's you're connecting to their emotional response of, you need this, or you should have this, or, even if it's a response of like a nostalgia thing, or, connecting to, lost loved ones or something. That's a whole
it's all shiny. It's as simple as like keys to crows.
It's just polishing up a turd. You see it a lot, mostly with like religion has this in the bag. The iconography that they use is a constant reminder of the presence of, particularly the church. In the U.S., especially the church is so, like, the cross, the fish, the candles.
It's iconic.
The
epic,
wild, gaudy architecture and the stained glass. It's just constant reminders that linger in your head. When you see elements of that anywhere else, like, that's what you think of. Like, I didn't even go to church that, like, barely ever really, and I still connect the, like, stained glass. When I think of stained glass, I think of churches.
Opulence.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, to close out this episode, I wanted us to listen to this clip. This is from a Teddy Talks called Art as a Spiritual Practice with Stephanie Smith. And she's an artist who spent a large portion of her life making mandalas. And she talks about how through that repetitive journey, that art was something that led her to herself. And I think those more practical aspects of art as a spiritual practice are something very valuable. So we're going to play this real quick, and then we're going to get the fuck out of here. All right.
And this led me to discover that when you focus on the process of art making, or pretty much on the process of anything, over the quality of your efforts, you're beginning to practice mindfulness, which author Jon Kabat-Zinn describes as an open-hearted, moment-to-moment, non-judgmental awareness. But, since we're human, there's going to be times when an unintended mark will make its way onto the page. And these are the moments that'll really teach you about yourself, because, when you see how you treat yourself. And what I usually do when this happens to me is that I'll take that opportunity and I'll repeat it 7, 8, or 10 more times around the circle and just make a new pattern from it. And then I move on. When you resist the urge to beat up on yourself, you begin to cultivate the ethical practice of ahimsa. Ahimsa is another Sanskrit word, and it means non-harming or non-violence. It's one of the foundational concepts in the system of yoga and in several other prominent spiritual teachings. And in a world where I find it really easy to be extremely hard on myself sometimes, this practice has been life-changing for me, because it's allowed me through art making to find true moments of peace away from my harsh inner critic. So needless to say, I wholeheartedly adopted this practice, and about 3,000 mandalas later, when a good friend of mine suggested that maybe I begin teaching this practice to others, I began to study the history of the mandala in depth. And the first thing I found is what a lot of people are most familiar with, which are the colorful geometric sand mandalas that the Tibetan Buddhist monks create. And they do this to raise consciousness and as a way to heal humanity, which is pretty cool, right? And then the more that I looked, the more I found other forms of sacred circular art, some thousands of years old, and I found them cross-culturally and all over the world, from ancient Greek labyrinths to Navajo sand paintings and giant Guatemalan kites like 30 to 60 feet high that are flown to honor the dead. And then I looked to nature, where you can find mandalas pretty much everywhere, from the rings of a tree to snowflakes and spider webs to the bloom of a flower, all the way down to the cells in our body. And this really led me to think about how the mandala form could be a symbol of our connection to each other and maybe even a link to something bigger. And then there's Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a famous Swiss psychoanalyst. And he's largely credited with bringing the Eastern concept of the mandala to the West just about 100 years ago. And Jung would use the mandala for a period of about 1 year. He would actually use the mandala. He would draw or paint one every single day as kind of like a way to check in with himself, because he believed that the mandala was reflective of the moment that we create them in. And he also believed that they were kind of like a path to our whole self.
I think she very aptly summed up all of the important parts of what should be considered spiritual art in a much more graceful way than we ever could.
Yeah, without a doubt. I learned something there, because I feel like I'd seen the Mandela kind of thing most of my life, and like I feel like it's kind of hacky. And I think in the same way that like we look at the satanic thing, where like people are getting it or people are looking at it in a way that it's, I don't know, they're not really feeling maybe the intended purpose of it. But if the intended purpose is a meditation, like you were saying with walking the maze kind of thing while you meditate, like if you're doing it as a meditative kind of thing, I get that.
And that's why I always think it's so cool when it's on sand, right? Because it's not about completing the design. It's about, doing it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a thing that's meant to be and stay. It's the moment that you're doing it thing that you're going to do again.
Yeah, and, each moment is unique because the previous moment and the future moment will not look the same. Right. I think that's really cool. But I think that does it for today. I think it's fair to say that the Trashcats wish you well on your quest for the perfect circle in your spiritual journey.
Very well put. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human.
Yeah, real quick. John always does our intro and outro art, but every once in a while we feature music, and we have a song playing at the end of this real quick. So stick around. It's beautiful. It's from Fine Sir, one of the godfathers of Trash Wave. And don't be fooled. It's another one of these tricky ones where don't turn it up too loud.
Yeah.
It's going to get crunchy. And there's pauses. Don't think it's over. It's going to...
It's going to come right back up, and it's going to get loud again. And
it's a fun one.
But it's very fun and very cool.
And thank you, John.
Absolutely. Make sure to check out the show page at Trashcats on Instagram for news and arts from the show. Check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. And shouts out to Fine Sir, which he can be found on the interwebs at www.soundclouds.com/fine-sir. And then who else do we got? We got
Danica Lundy.
Danica Lundy. Check her paintings out. They're so fucking weird and cool. And then we mentioned I Just Draw and the other Polish nightmare artist, Zadisk.
Yep, you nailed it.
And I think that's
Dizwa Bashinsky.
Sure. I think that's going to be it. Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash. And now, some things I've been thinking about lately by Fine Sir.